Hello, welcome to the Overshare Pamphlet. My name is Rob, and I'm the host of this one-man show. Welcome back. Welcome back, TikTok. because, yeah, things have been moving so fast this weekend. It's crazy. I knew I wanted to talk about TikTok in this episode, 100%, but I also was very much waiting to see when it was best to record. So I pushed the recording of this episode until the very last minute, which is Sunday evening at the moment. And in fact, as expected, things have changed once again. And now TikTok apparently is available to the US citizens once again. Like, crazy stuff. But anyways, we'll get into the whole TikTok shenanigan, the TikTok ban of it all in the US, as usual. But first, songs of the week. Let me get into it. So first off, Serotonin by Necta is my favorite one. I think out of this week. It's like very much giving like European house music a bit. Like it's giving house music, it's giving like Charlie XCX. like earlier stuff by Charlie. But it's house and it's done like Necta is, I assume she's Korean. I think I had another track by her, or one of my previous playlists, which by the way you can find on Spotify by just searching the Overshare Pamphlet songs of the week dash month and year. So yeah, this is lit. The song is really, really good. I love Necta. She has a lot of great tracks. So I actually encourage you guys to go and listen to her. She has so many cool things. But yeah, pretty much a slate. Then Queen Eve. I talked to her. I talked about her before, and she is an ex-Luna member for my K-pop fans who know about the group, and who know about her. But she came out of the deluxe edition of her EP, which came out earlier in 2020. Well, towards the end of 2024, I believe. The EP was called I Did, and now she came out with a deluxe version called I Did Bloom Deluxe, and she put in just 2 extra songs, which are both incredibly good. I cannot stress this enough. This is like, I'm literally so shocked about how good she is as a solo artist and like the taste maker, I guess, that she is. Like she knows the vibe that she likes and what's going on there. So yeah, pretty lit. But my favorite song out of the 2 deluxe tracks are, well, the two deluxe tracks are Bird and See You in Hell, and See You in Hell is my jam. I'm so crazy today. Honestly, like the amount of information I've been reading on this story is just insane. But I have to report. For my girls on your 2 feet. Let's go. Reported her messy boots on and ready to go. But yeah. So See You in Hell is a power ballad, I would say, rock influenced a bit, but she still has that Vocaloid, I don't know if you could call it that, but a sort of filter on her voice. I don't know if it's auto-tuned or not, like auto-tuned a bit, like stylistically auto-tuned, but I believe it's fully in English as well, the track. Some of the lyrics don't really make sense because of the way they're pronounced, I guess, but I am tuning in, turning it up every single damn time I can, basically. So yeah, the song is actually so good. See You in Hell, go listen to that. I think it's like about a relationship that went wrong, and I think the chorus is like very much her owning up to her own shit, and like she knows she's unforgivable, and but she also, I think, acknowledges in a way that the other person has done something wrong as well. Like, he's not a saint either, because she says, "I'll see you in hell," like, can't wait to see you in hell, or something like that. Like, she acknowledges like that she did something wrong and that she's unforgivable, but then also she says, "Well, you are also not a saint, and I guess if we cannot see each other now, I'll see you in hell." So that's actually kind of smart, honestly. Like it's very, you know, lyrics are lyricking, you know. So yeah. Then Force of Nature, another track that I really want to talk about is by Kezia. Don't know much about her specifically, but she has a lot of great tracks. I started listening to her like literally this week, and Force of Nature is so good. It's sort of, it's like up tempo, I would say, um, but like guitar heavy, I think, and it is like I would still consider it chill, maybe. I'm not sure. It's up tempo definitely, but I don't know if you guys know Pearly Drops, but that's sort of the same vibe that it gives me, the type of music that they make. Like it's a bit fast paced, but it's also chill at the same time, and it's, you know, very soft vocals, like very much filtered vocals, like soft in the back, and it's really really good. Love the guitar here, like the electric guitar here is just very jammy, very cool. So she's going in the list. She's going in the list. She's going in the list. And then I think I want to add the song that I recently watched. I know I'm late to the game, but I recently watched Queer by Luca Guadagnino, and the movie itself. Here are my two thoughts, because I'm not going to review the movie. Because I also fell asleep throughout it, because I actually was extremely disappointed and bored by the movie. I think the first half is actually really good, but the second half is just what the fuck is going on, and yeah, I think it was a bit of a letdown in terms of the movie itself, the plot, and all that. But cinematography really really good. Really impressed. I like the costumes a lot. The costumes department did their thing. They did their big one there. It's like 70s themed, I guess, the looks and everything, but I'm not sure entirely when it's actually based in, like in what time period, but whatever. And I've noticed that it's actually, well, supposed to be set in Mexico, part of it, and then Latin America, but some of the songs are in Italian, oddly enough, and there's one song called Sui Ghiacciai by Verdana, and I just love the song. I think it's in one of those scenes where like the main character is like in the bar, and he's like sort of depressed as fuck because the young boy that he's in love with. Yeah, also that I am sick and tired of. I understand that this is based on a book and everything else, but can we stop getting representation in these terms? Like, I understand it's also the purpose of why the age gap was there and everything else, but I'm so tired of it. Like, he already did. Look at what he already did, like that with calling by your name, whatever. I think we deserve a Look at What I Need a movie with two characters that are actually like confirmed to be the main, you know, love interests in the story, and they're actually gay, you know. Like, I think that's the story that we, the fans, want, because Challengers was my favorite movie of the year last year, but I do recognize that there was a lot of queer teasing in that sense, but nothing like fully, I guess, materialized itself, because there was always, you know, the love triangle, and eventually both guys were going after Zendaya's character, but whatever, that's beyond the point. But I think it's time that he gives us a normal love. It doesn't have to be normal, not in the sense of story wise, you know what I mean, like how the relationship works and all that stuff. But in terms of age gap, we don't want that. I personally, I don't know, maybe some people do want to see that, but I do not want that. And I think Daniel Craig is the main character. Like the actor is portraying the main character is Daniel Craig, I think. And if I'm wrong about that, sorry about that. But I'm not really good with actors' names. But he is sort of, he's really good in the role. But I would say, and I would agree with like the general consensus that his performance is not up to par with the story, I guess, and you can tell sort of that either he didn't have like the capacity to like get this role right because he's not actually queer himself, even though I mean we wouldn't know, but I think it's established that he's at least, well, he's been straight, or I don't know. Sexuality is a bit of a difficult situation, but I think as far as we all know, he's openly straight. So, and I think, to be quite frank, looking at the movie, watching the movie, I think it was more like doing a caricature, like putting on a caricature more than actually portraying the actual character. And I think this type of role is like a very personal role, and like something that like only someone who has lived through the same experiences can actually tap into, because it's a very specific story about a very old queer man who fears that he will never find love because of, you know, being queer and all that stuff, you know? So yeah, anyways, this is a huge tangent that I made just about this movie, but anyways, I think the main point that I want to talk about is that the song is incredible. It's really, really good. It's a very sad song, very like, you know, slow tempo acoustic guitar song. So check it out. Check it out. The movie, don't check it out. I would say if you can avoid it, personally, I would say don't watch it. I literally was so disappointed and so bored by the movie. So I literally fell asleep after the second half started, because I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I don't have the brain power to keep up with this. There was no point in me watching it. And then I fell asleep, and then I woke up again, and I was like, oh, I'm still not done. What the fuck? And all that. So anyways, these are my songs of the week. And that's pretty much it on that topic. But let's get to the real diva of the day, which is the TikTok ban that's already been lifted, by the way. So let me give a quick chronology of what roughly happened in the past, 2 days or something. Well, it's been, the ultimatum was already given, of course, to TikTok to be sold to a US company, and they had until basically Sunday in the US. Like, as soon as the clock struck 12, the US government said that they were going to ban the TikTok from the US, and they actually did ban it slightly before that, like a couple of hours or like an hour before that, I think. But it did go through for literally half a day, not even a full day, because it's already back now. My friends from the US are already telling me that they're back on TikTok. So that didn't last long. But also, are we surprised? No, we're not. I personally was not surprised, honestly. Like, I knew this was going to happen. I actually thought this was, you know, just I don't know, something that was going to happen eventually. Like, they were not going to let this go on for too long. Also because it's like happening at the same time as Trump becoming officially president, like stepping up as president. And so he already said in some speeches that he would actually do his best to just extend the time to find a deal. So the old regime, basically, with under Biden, was still technically in power until yesterday. Well, yeah, yesterday, I guess, for the US. They were going to go ahead with it. And it was a bipartisan, actually, decision to go ahead with it. So it was supported by the Supreme Court and all that. So that is crazy. But yeah, Trump, I guess, held up his promise, and he did restore it immediately. So yeah, that's what happened. And so we're back again with that. So let's just start off with, I had so many questions when I was writing these notes, and I was like, okay, this is actually good to start a conversation with this. And yeah, so first question I had was this Trump's plan all along? Like, was this a political move from Trump to just get more, I guess, in the good graces of the young voters? Because famously, he didn't really have much support from them. So this definitely is crazy good, like in terms of for his own gains, I guess. Like this is a perfect plan for him to like just be seen as the saving, as the savior, I guess, for young people who literally fixed it in 2 seconds. But I think there's also more to the story. I personally believe, but I'll get into that in a few seconds. But I literally thought of that immediately. I was like, he's gonna do it definitely because that's a great chance for him to just rehabilitate his image, I guess, for in between young people. But I wouldn't be surprised if young people actually don't really care to shit about him anyways. Like they're grateful, of course, that he did that, but I don't know if they really care about him anyway. So fuck that. So, but yeah, I would say in a way it's a good move for him, but we still do not like Trump. So f off. But anyways, I think the main conversations that were like thrown out in these few days were, what about the freedom of speech and the usage of platforms? Is it actually, you know, is it fair for the U.S. to do all this? And what are the concerns and what are the reasons why the U.S. has done this? And by the way, the whole thing is not off the table still. Like it has been restored, I guess, the access, but just because like the Trump has extended time to find a deal, I guess. So TikTok is like the US is still looking into buying TikTok, I guess. And to me, that's the main stinker here. Like I understand the security concerns that the US has in terms of data usage and all that stuff, but I also don't at the same time. But I'll get into that in a bit as well. But also, it seems to me that it's also veiled a bit, and it's like a pretext to just gain control over this app that has significantly outperformed a lot of the main US-based apps, Like, it seems weird that they want to buy the entire app just to have control over it. Who tells us that the US is going to use the app in a more quote-unquote responsible way compared to Singapore? Because technically it's not even China. But there is a bit of a conundrum there, but we'll get to that as well. So, first question I had is it extortionist to buy TikTok, or to impose these conditions in the first place? Like, who guarantees that, the data bought by the US won't be used for other nefarious ends, Like, as far as we know, there's first of all, no evidence, no concrete evidence that China is, using TikTok's data for espionage purposes or just collect data irresponsibly and whatever to spy on people and all that. There's no concrete basis for that. There's no proof of that. And if anything, and this is not my simple opinion, but it's just like many other people who have studied this whole thing for a long time and have all the information about it, like they're US tech experts and all that stuff. TikTok, basically, the bottom line is that TikTok is definitely collecting a lot of data, but it's not in any event, and like by no stretch of the imagination, is not more invasive or illegal than what other US companies are already doing. Like, I'm talking about Google, I'm talking about Meta, like Facebook, Instagram, all these apps are using very similar tools and I think are collecting the same exact type of data. I'm talking about literally location, contact lists, access to photos, even keyboard usage, passwords, all that stuff. Like, they're doing the same exact thing. And yet, the US has a problem with when TikTok is using the same things, So it really makes you wonder, is it really actually a security threat, or is it more like a politically motivated, suprematist, I guess, move to just try and kill off competition and all this stuff? To me, it is first of all very anti-competitive in a way, but also I just don't really think that this is in the interest of the people, because if it were in the interest of the people, then the US would also start looking into their own apps, which it hasn't happened yet, and they're still doing the same thing. But since they're US based and US owned, I guess, in that, US owned businesses, then they're not, they're privately owned, but based in the US. I think they are technically responsible to US laws, which is fair, but also no one is doing anything about it, you know? So what, like, what's up with that? I think the only fair criticism that can be raised against TikTok is just a criticism that should be raised basically against all companies in general, all social media platforms. Like, is it fair for you guys to collect all these data? What are you doing with all this data? It's a fair question to ask these things, but I think trying to buy the app is just a bit of a stinker, in my opinion. Like, it's a bit of a, I don't know. I don't really see the motive and like the motivation behind it. Like, it's just weird. And yeah, as you know, Lin, who is basically alongside ethical hacker, basically, I would say he is right. We just need more for we should just call for more evidence-based policies, and that's it. But yeah, I think going to these lines is a bit extreme, and I mean, in a way, I think it's something that was just bound to happen, more so because of the political, I guess, troubles that have raised and the lack of trust that now China has gained, I guess, over the past few years. But yeah, it's just crazy that it happened so fast, and also in a blink of an eye, and like how many people were not happy about it, but still we went ahead without their consensus. So there you go. But yeah. Anyways, I think also let's talk about like TikTok getting bought, I guess, or like trying to buy TikTok in that sense. Is it fair also for that to happen? Like, this is an app that was technically, you know, built from the ground in Singapore. So it's not an app that was created by the US by any stretch of the imagination. Yes, it was inspired by different US apps, of course, but still, this app became famous outside of the US. Like, it wasn't the US who ideated, like, it wasn't a US researcher or like whoever, like IT person who invented this app. It is a Singaporean app, and it did outperform all the US apps in the past few years by any stretch of the imagination. It is the most used app by younger people, at least. So I find it very extortionist in a way to like do all this, and again, especially because there's no proper evidence that Singapore, like the company that owns TikTok, is passing all this data to China. Like, I think it's even more of a, you know, an extortionist move. So how, and also I really think TikTok, like the owners of TikTok, I guess in that sense, do not want to sell the app. And also, why should they sell the app? Literally, it's something that they created and they invested so much time and money into. Regardless of like how invasive the app is, it's still, the algorithm itself is something that is like so unique to TikTok and so valuable. Like, there's a secret sauce in there. Like, there is something so specific to that algorithm that just makes the app worth so much. I think at the moment TikTok is like rated as $100 or $200 billion worth. So that is insane, like crazy shit. And I think it would be crazy for them to sell the app just for. I mean, they are going to lose if the ban goes up again. They're going to lose probably like 175 million users, which is a lot and a big chunk of their market. But also, if I were them, I would be like, fuck it, I'm not going to sell it. Like, why would I sell it? Like, I don't know. I mean, they're going to make a lot of money, and people at the higher ends are going to get a lot of money, but I don't know. Like, why would they give up? I mean, I don't know. It's really, honestly, anyone can tell. I mean, at this point, it's just going to go either way. So I don't really know where it's going to go, but if I were them, I wouldn't do it. Just for, like, the morality of it all, I would be like, no, I'm not going to sell it to you. Like, who tells me that you're going to do a better job at, I don't know. And also, it's not as if the owners of this app have not tried to, like, you know, find a compromise or whatever. They did start implementing some policies to protect US data, and they're trying to also the same with Europe. So there's an active, willingness to make an effort to appease things, and even then they're not happy about it. So I don't know. I feel like to me it's more like an economic gain for the US and like a supremacist interest than anything else. So I don't know, but that's just my opinion. I mean, everyone is of course entitled to their own, but I think it's just a bit weird, personally. So yeah. What do I think is going to happen? So I do think, well, I was already predicting that Trump was going to put it back on immediately, and that already happened. So literally in the time span that I was about to record, it happened. But I think also what other people are speculating about is that Trump is going to try and buy the app for himself. Maybe not himself, but someone else from his family or something like that through a shell company. I think that's going to happen. I think Grace Randolph from Beyond the Trailer also talked about this, which I found very interesting, but it wouldn't be the first time that he does that. I think he's already done it before, like buying other companies through shell companies. So he might do that if he has the liquidity, which I don't know if he does. Maybe he does. People were saying maybe Elon Musk might buy it, but I think he does not actually have the liquidity at the moment to buy it, because of the Tesla debacle and also the X Twitter thing. So yeah, I think I think he himself was saying that he was actually looking to buy into Vine because Vine is at the moment very cheap for him to buy. So that tells you a lot. Like, I don't think he can actually afford TikTok at the moment, which is crazy. But yeah, so I actually think that Trump is actually looking into buying it himself, and that's why he also is like extending the time frame, I guess, for them to sell the app, because he's trying to find a compromise himself to buy the app in some other way. So will he be successful? We shall see. It's something that it's just, in continuous development. But yeah, crazy. So I would keep an eye on that personally, like to see what he does and like what moves he's gonna make in this short amount of time. We don't know how long. I mean, I haven't checked because it's just literally just happened now. But we don't know how long the app is gonna be up again for. But yeah. And I guess another point I wanted to bring is that the US is not the first country to do this. Like, many other countries have already banned TikTok. I think including either China itself, or I think in Singapore. I think in Singapore you cannot actually use the app if you're a teenager. So that's already, I think it's in China actually. But that already tells you like that, other people have already moved onto this, and I think you can definitely say that this is happening to TikTok because it is the most popular app right now, and I think because the type of content is like put on there is a bit uncontrolled, but so is like the content on X, for example, and there's a lot of like weird contents on Instagram and other pages as well. So I don't know. I feel like it's a bit unfair, but I think one of the biggest moves was made by India a long time ago, actually in 2020 when TikTok was taken off for the first time. TikTok was already banned in India and has been banned for the past 5 years. So it's not the first time that this happens. And I think the situation there was actually very similar to what happened in the US. Personally, I think there's a connection there as well. So this technically was done, according to the Indian Prime Minister, was done because of security threats and claims of espionage, basically. Even though, again, I said, there are no evidence. There's no evidence for this. So, but anyways, this was the main reason it was put out in the public by the Prime Minister. But then people were starting to put two and two together, and they realized that, 2 weeks prior to that ban in India, there was an actual military conflict between China and India on their border. And that could have definitely, I would say, played a factor into that. And it was a sort of retaliation against TikTok and, promoting more like Indian-based, apps and all that stuff. So, beginning of May 2020, China and India were basically engaged in an aggressive melee face-off, and the location specifically was the Sino-Indian border, of course, as I was saying, and it also included a disputed territory called, I think, Pangong Lake or something like that, and the Tibet Autonomous Region, of course. So there is also the big, if you know anything about Chinese politics, Tibet is one of the hotspots. What would you call them? Like hot points of conflict with India. It has been that for a while, and yeah, so that was a big point of contrast between the two countries, and other clashes then happened subsequently. I think along the line of actual control, which is in Ladakh, eastern Ladakh, basically. So there was a lot of trouble already between the two countries, and then in late May, basically, Chinese forces objected to the Indian road construction in the Galwan River. I'm not really sure. River Valley, and so basically there was a huge conflict there in mid-June or something, and several people died, of course, Indian soldiers and Chinese soldiers, and so sort of like I guess 2 weeks after that, basically I think it was also like shots were actually fired in September as well of the same year, so both sides were blaming each other for starting the fight, the conflict and all that stuff, and then basically the what is it called, the app was banned. So it is a bit of an interesting situation that they escalated so quickly after that. So I think there's definitely like a interest in India keeping it out of their own country for political reasons and supremacy in that sense. So that is incredible, to say the least. And yeah, so I would say there's a connection there, I think. Like, they're both framing it as, of course, as a security concern in terms of data protection and all that stuff, but I think it's sort of like veiling, I guess, the real interests behind it, which are more in terms of like economic reasons and like supremacy reasons and like technology, like national technologies support in that sense. So yeah, talk much about like cosmopolitan world and living in a globalized world where everyone is just waging war to each other regarding apps and all that stuff. So I don't know, it's quite interesting. I think it's something that needs to be really looked into, and I do understand the parents' concerns in terms of like a lot of old people are like happy about this because they've never actually used the app and they think it's like actually destroying the attention span, like shortening the attention span of many people, young people specifically. And I think it does play a factor into that, but I also think the attention span has been going down anyways because of other apps. So my point is, yes, TikTok has played a part in this, but also TikTok is not the only trouble and the only problem on your phone right now. There are so many other apps that also are doing the same and keep people engaged with their algorithms, and they're still up and running. So if you have that energy towards TikTok, you should have it towards Facebook, towards X specifically as well, and Instagram and all that stuff. So I don't really buy it. You know what I mean? I think it's more like a political move than anything else. And I would say just, TikTok, as despite all the bad things that TikTok has done, I think it also has done so many great things in terms of music, in terms of advertisement on like short form content, and a lot of people getting, small businesses being able to, find a revenue through TikTok and being, finding exposure through a TikTok, and a lot of creators who became famous through TikTok. Like, TikTok has given jobs to so many people. So I think it's quite unfair to shit on an app that has done so much, both negatively and positively, for many people. Like, yes, the negative impact is to be taken into account, but you should act on a way to just, make it better instead of just like you completely banning it without even, and people may argue that this is a way of making it better, but buying the app doesn't make the app, it's not a guarantee for the app getting better. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, Elon Musk is still owning X and things have arguably gone down. So if someone buys an app, doesn't mean it's gonna go well. You know what I mean? And it's not like as if it's like you have a safe haven for our data. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know. Like, same, I can literally ask the same question to you guys. How do you use your app, your data that you collect? How have you been using actually the data that you've collected the past few years, the past many years actually, from Instagram and other apps? So, yeah, I'm shooketh personally. So we shall see how it goes, and I will be reporting back, guys. Do not fret. And to all my US friends, if you need a phone to use to look to, like, to scroll through TikTok, if the ban goes up again, just give me a shout. I'm willing to rent my phone. I'm kidding. But have a great week and see you in the next episode. Bye.